are powers on Earth too hidden to be seen, and conspiracies too vast to comprehend. For years, the world has seen fact distorted, reality manipulated, and the truth concealed. Join the Pierre Sebac Podcast to uncover the real meanings behind ancient aliens and their symbolism.
Hi, this is Pierre Sebac, unlocking the keys to the mysteries. Now, today I want to look at the Hellenistic languages, and I want to look at how the Greeks represented the Watchers. Now, in my previous video, we looked at the Semitic languages, and we looked at the Watchers and the related etymologies. But we're actually seeing that there is a correspondence between both the Semitic and also the Hellenistic languages. And so I want to look at these relationships between these word plays between the Watchers and the Shining Ones, because a lot of the language is actually polyglottal. By this I mean that the word plays actually that they played out in many different languages. So first of all, I want to have a look at the Greek word theros, which is a watcher. Now, within the Greek, theros, a watcher, is related to theos, which is a god, but again that there is this close cognate with therion, which is a type of beast. Now, within the Apocrypha traditions, therion, a beast, is actually used to denote a dragon. So in this respect, we know that theros, a watcher, is actually equated with therion, a beast, which is a type of dragon. So we can understand the dragon as being a signifier of the seraphim. Now, there are morphological variations on the stem of theos, a god, and these analogies really indicate a type of watcher, a type of a beast, or a type of serpent, or a seraphim. And the terminology therion, a beast, is really used as a metonym of the seraphim or dragon. And I think that this is very important to actually to understand this, that there is this relationship between theos, a god, and therion, which is a beast, understood in this respect to be a type of watcher, shining one, or a type of seraphim or dragon. So when we look at the etymologies in Greek, we find that there is this relationship between theos, a god, and theros, a watcher, but also that there is this close parallel with phos, light. And so therefore the Watchers, as within the Semitic tradition, are not only represented as a type of deity or a god, but they're also understood to be related to light. They're understood to be shining, and this is important in terms of the symbolism of Sirius. Because as we've mentioned before, the seraphim and the erin, the watchers or the shining ones, that they originate from Sirius, because Sirius, the shining star Sirius, the scorching or sparkling star Sirius, is identified with etymologies of fire. So therefore the jinn and the seraphim are said to originate from Sirius. Now, in symbolism, therefore, theos, a god, is often represented as flaming, and again we find similarities with Zeus. He holds a lightning flash, and again lightning is used to denote the flashing ones or the shining ones, which are relational to the seraphim, to the dragon. Now, therefore, when we go back into the symbolism, theos, a god or a shining one, is really understood to be a derivative of phos, which is light, and this comparison is found within the Semitic traditions, which are described as the Watchers or the Shining Ones, which are a type of seraphim. The seraphim in this respect are notational of Serapha, which is fire. Again, it would be indicative of the Elohim, the High Ones. As I mentioned in my previous video, there is this parallel between the Elohim and Erin, which are the Watchers or the Shining Ones, and the Old Semitic noun Awim, the Serpents or the Destroyers. So the seraphim angels, they are represented as a bright serpent. They're represented as a watcher, and therefore the insignia of of the Watcher is found within Egyptian symbolism, which is represented with the ascendant cobra. So in this respect, the cobra is ascended. It's used to represent the High One. It's also used to represent a Watcher, and again the cobra is usually tied together with the solar motif. The solar motif in this respect is actually a covert symbol of Sirius, again, which would indicate the Watchers are the Shining Ones. Now, Sirius goes back into twin symbolism, which is very complex. So essentially, twin symbolism, again, is pairing the sun with Sirius, and again that this is reflected in the double serpent insignia of the jewel cobra, which is tied together or aligned with the disc, and this represents the symbolism of heaven and earth. Within Egyptian symbolism, this was encapsulated as the jewel kingdom of Egypt. So when we look at the depiction of the serpent or the Watcher or the Shining Ones, we can see that they are very much conceptual with the descendants of light, which are the Flaming Ones. Again, this is the protogenitor to the Illuminati. Again, in the Apocrypha traditions, the Illuminati are referred to as the Akhzari, the Brothers of Light. This is an Arabic phrase, which is a wordplay or a paranomasia on the Aramaic word the Akhzari, which is a brother of an angel. Now remember, the stem Zar, an angel, is polymorphic and also means an alien or a visitor. So the brothers of angels, or the brothers otherwise of light, which can be understood to be the seraphim, are also the brothers of angels or aliens. The two terminology are interchangeable, and in this respect this would again go back into the symbolism of Sirius. So we can say therefore that the seraphim or the dragon again can be understood to be a type of jinn. Jinn is the old Semitic word for a serpent, so there is this relationship between the jinn, the seraphim and the Elohim. Now when we look at the Greek etymologies, we can see the following comparisons. So therefore within Greek we have theotes, which is a divinity. Again, it's a variation on theos, which is God, phos, which is light, theoros, which is a watcher, again going back to the stem, theorio, which is sight, and thurion, which is a beast. So when we break this down, we can really say that the beast is a description which is really equivalent within symbolism to Drakon, which is a dragon. And again, the word listing of Drakon is an alteration on Drakane, which is to look, flash, glance or gleam. And again, it's coming from the verb dirk, which is to see. This is very much, when we break this down, implicit of a deity or a sentinel. Again, it's going back into the traditions of the Watcher. And this is relative to the etymology of gods or the divinities or the deities. Theos, a god, and theros, which is a watcher. Watcher being a shining one or a dragon or seraphim. So when we look at the comparison between the Hebrew etymology of Elohim, a god or the lofty ones, and Erin, the watchers or the shining ones, and Awim, which are the serpents, the plural, we can see that there is this polyglottal wordplays or comparison with Theos, a god, Theros, a watcher, from Phos, which is light, and Thurion, a beast, a dragon, or a sentinel. So when we review all of these word listings, we can say that there are numerous comparisons. So for example, when we look at the Elohim, which are used in the Old Testament to describe collectively the gods, that essentially the Elohim, that they are identical in the old languages to a type of deity, but again, that there is this close comparison with a type of Malach Elohim, and the Malach Elohim are really conceptualized as a type of serpent or sentinel, and this is why the Malach Elohim were often described as being frightening. We find similar references to the Testament of Amram also within the book of Judges, which describe the Malach Elohim as fearful in their appearance. So that's essentially the breakdown of Theos, which is God, and Theros, which is a watcher. I just really want to just draw out a couple more points before I close this video. I want to emphasize, therefore, that the definition of a god is really relative to a reptile, and the reptile is characteristic of the Watchers, of the high ones, of the Watchers. And when we look at the scaphological tradition, the study of angelic boats within religion and mythology, we can also see that the Watchers are often represented in context to naval vessels, and they are understood to be crew members of naval vessels. They're often also thought to be very strange or repulsive in their appearance. So when we begin to break this down, we can say that the general synopsis regarding the Watchers, that they are one and the same with the dragon, and that the dragon again is closely identified with the Elohim gods, the high ones, and that the Elohim can be understood or epitomized to be a type of supernatural being. And so we're seeing that the Watchers and the Shining Ones, that there are many comparisons when we begin to look at them in terms of the ufological tradition, in terms of the grey alien. And I want to just quickly look at this, but before we look at the grey alien, I just want to look at the traditions with the deities and the Elohim, in terms of how they're represented. So therefore, when we look at the etymology of Theos, a god, and Theros, a watcher, we see that there is this comparison with Phos, which is light. Again, within the Semitic traditions, the Elohim gods are related to Erin, which are the watchers, which is a polyformal word of Erin, which are the shining ones. But again, when we go back into English, God is coming from the old root of guard. Now, the old root of guard in English is to watch. And again, guard and God is related to gold, which is light. Now, when we draw a comparison with the modern ufological tradition in the ancient world, scaphology, we see that the grey aliens are also viewed with similar signifiers. So therefore, there is this correspondence with greys, gaze, which is to watch, and glaze, which is luster. So when we summarise this, we can therefore say that both Theos the god and Theros the watcher, that we can understand them to be a class of irradiated being, but really the symbolism is drawing our attention back to Sirius, the scorching one, the sparkling one, the star Sirius, which is the home of the Ruach Elohim, of the high spirits, or the Jinn, or Jen, which is a serpent, those who are born from fire. But when we're looking at the comparisons between Theos the god and Theros the watcher, we see that there are convergences with the grey alien, and that the symbolism is polyglottal. And so we're seeing that there is at least an analogous comparison which can be gleaned between the grey alien, a type of deity, and also the seraphim, how they all are closely interrelated together. Now, when we begin to break this down, we can really see, therefore, that the grey alien and the tradition of the watchers and non-human angels, which are understood to be the seraphim, are really part of this very complex tradition, which go back to the tradition of the angelic host. So therefore, when we're looking at the seraphim in particular, we see that there is this close comparison between Seraph and Sopheth, a watcher, related to Sabaoth, which is the angelic host, and how their host, Malak, an angel, is related to Malak, a sailor. So they are understood to be a type of naval host, but in this respect they originate from heaven. And I'm just going to quickly draw the audience's attention to the seraphic host, and then I'll close the video here. But essentially we can see that there is a comparison between the seraphim, or seraph, a snake, which are identified in the Judaic tradition with Sopheth, a watcher or a dragon. But Sopheth, a watcher, again is related to Saba, which is the host, or Sabaoth, which is the angelic host. Again, Sabaoth host is related to Sevet, which is a crew of a vessel, and Teba or Teva, which is an ark. So in this respect, Yahweh Sabaoth is understood to be the Lord of the seraphic host. And that's essentially a breakdown of the watchers, in particular how they are referred to in the Greek traditions as Theos, a god, and Theros, a watcher, and how they are interrelated with Therion, which is a beast, which is a type of seraphim, dragon, or jinn. Right, thank you very much for listening. This is Pierre Sabak. If you are interested in my work, then please subscribe. Please feel free to leave a comment, and also please visit my website at Pierre Sabak Books. Thank you for listening. This is Pierre Sabak. Let's try and make this a better world. Thank you.